Alright, let's get straight to it. Got 2 weeks of comic books to review here. And yeah, so just a quick explanation. Something recently has happened in my life, which I don't want to talk about, that I've been kind of upset about it. So I just recently got these comic books, and it's 2 weeks, 2 particular weeks, everything will be great. So let's start off. First comic book I want to review is Avengers Academy number 11. So this featured the return of Korvac, and I'm going to be honest, I have no idea who that is. So if you do, congratulations. But I really like this issue. I like the artwork by Tom Rainey, which is actually pretty good. Not as good as Mike McCone's, but it's still pretty good. But this is a pretty good issue written by Gage. There's some funny jokes in here. There's a good explanation about Korvac, which now I do know about him. And just sort of what's going on, and it's a good issue. Avengers Academy is also a great series, and please pick it up, because if this gets canceled, I'll be upset. Alright, the next book I want to review is Avengers: The Children's UK, or the Children's Crusade Young Avengers. I love the Young Avengers. They're probably my favorite Avengers book on my favorite Avengers team. They're just so good, and Alan Heinberg, he just has the perfect writing for each character, and like these are his characters, and he's matched each one perfectly. So in this story, what happens is we see the future and we see the past. Now, personally, the future is kind of confusing, and in the end, the past tells a really good story, but it's kind of capped back in the future story, which doesn't make much sense, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. Otherwise, I also really like the artwork by Alan Davis, who did a great job on this issue, and I'm just glad, and you know what, just pick it up. Alright, my next book I'm going to talk about here is Invincible Iron Man number 502. By Matt Fraction and art by Salvador Larroca. So in this issue, we get to see Iron Man against the Sinister Six, which is Spiderman's villain, who is my favorite superhero. Now, I really like this issue because we sort of get to see Iron Man and Doc Ock having a mental battle, which is something you don't see often, and so it's definitely like a nerd moment that's really cool. Also, the art by Salvador Larroca is great. I'm not the biggest fan of him, and Tony Stark looks just like Sawyer. I'm lost. Kind of creepy, man. But overall, he does do some good jobs when the technology comes into place, like in this issue, and it's really cool. Next up is Captain America and Crossbones. I have 2 copies of this because I just do. But this is a really good issue because it was written by William Harms, who I don't know who that is, but he wrote a really good issue where we get to see Crossbones toward the end of it. Captain America isn't in this issue at all, and it's just a good issue. We get to see really Crossbones and who he is, and you sort of actually like him, which is kind of weird because he's a bastard. Alright, and then for my pick of the week, you shouldn't be surprised, Fear Itself, Book of the Skull by Ed Brubaker and Scott Eaton. The first thing I want to say about this bat is Scott Eaton's artwork is amazing. This is really good artwork. I have never seen Scott Eaton write. I've never heard of him, but after this, it's sort of I want to read more about him, and this is just good artwork through and through. Anyway, so in this issue, we see Sin and Helmut Zemo fighting up against the present time, and then it goes back to a flashback. What I personally like about this issue is that I like the back because it sort of is like this fun adventure romp, and the future sorts it up. Sorry, this isn't like required reading for Fear Itself. You rather read Fear Itself and enjoy it. There's nothing like big revelation here. But what this is, it's a good issue. I like. Well, first of all, Captain America, the only writer I can trust anymore, is Ed Brubaker. But I really like this issue because it just is an adventure. It was like a good read. It's not like the greatest read, but it's a good adventure issue. Anyway, also almost done editing. I will get this up to you soon. I promise. All right. Next up is this week. We're going to start off with Ultimate Death of Spider-Man. Yay! Now this is the Ultimate Spider-Man 156, and in this issue we get to see Spider-Man. This is sort of a setup with the Sinister Stick versus Spider-Man and a peek into what's going to happen in New Ultimates versus New Avengers. New Ultimates versus Avengers. Don't ask me. Anyway, so I really like this issue because, first of all, Mark Bagley comes back on this, and he's a great artist. Or the original artist on Ultimate Spider-Man. One of the reasons why I liked Ultimate Spider-Man way back when. I was like, but also, there's one thing I want to say. It feels like a setup. Like, we get to a point, and just, I feel like there's no point in reading this issue. Like, it's like a setup. It's like, okay, we know he's gonna die. And they just keep pressing the point back. It seems like there's no fighting, there's no... It seems like it's really missing something. And it seems like... I don't know. I love Ultimate Spider-Man, but this issue was a little bit of a letdown. Next up, we have my least favorite issue of the week, Thor 620.1. Now, point ones are good, and I particularly like them, but this one just seems dead to me. It just, the story doesn't make sense, because I'm like, didn't Balder just die? And it goes in and forth, and it just, the artwork is good, the story just wasn't all that great. But it does bring up the Grey Gargoyle, who's going to be a big character in for itself, according to the pages. Alright. Next up, we have Osborn, number 4. So in this issue, let me just say, I love this series because I love Spider-Man and I just love Norman Osborn as a character. I love him in Dark Reign, I love him now, I love him before then. I love Osborn. In this, we get to see Osborn, be this crazy, insane man who he is, and we get to see Nora Roberts, who's another great character I love. Kelly Sue DeConnick is a great writer on this series. And honestly, this is like a miniseries you need to pick up. And if it's, I know it's not selling well, but it should be, because this is a good series, and you will just love it. Next up, do a two-shot, Captain America 1615.1 and Captain America and Batroc. So this issue deals with a new Captain America coming around, who isn't a big major character, and it definitely has an end reveal that's pretty good. I definitely like this issue. The artwork is pretty good. A little bit, it's okay. It's still really good, and I really like it. It's a good jumping on point. And it's definitely a good issue. And it's probably going to set up what Captain America is going to be for the next year. So we also have Captain America and Batroc the Leaper, which is just a really fun issue because we get to see inside the mind of Batroc, and he's just this hilarious character, which I thought was really funny. We actually get to have a Captain America in this, which is Bucky, which I don't know, takes place before the trial, I guess. And it is a really funny issue, and I don't know, I really liked it. It was written by Kieron Gillen, who's a good writer. My pick of the week, Future Foundation, issue 1. So in this issue, we get the team back of Jonathan Hickman and Steve Epting, who just finished Fantastic Four, and I really liked this issue. Hickman wrote the characters really well. We got to see some progress from his old series and some new things, but we get to see like where they're gonna go. But he wrote the characters well. Like, there are scenes where it seems like Spider-Man tries to make a joke and Ben grimaces, and that's just what I would expect after Johnny Storm is dead, and would expect what Spider-Man would do. So he has all these characters written down, and it was a really, really good issue. The artwork by Steve Epting is amazing, and just this was a really good issue. I thank you. That was my comic book reviews of the week. Check in next week for more.